You've been told your past defines you, that reality is fixed, that the things that happened to you, the wounds, the betrayals, the moments that shaped you are set in stone, unchangeable, permanent. And here's what makes that belief so devastating. If your past is fixed, then you are too. You become nothing more than the sum of your circumstances, a victim of what was, a prisoner of what happened. But what if I told you that quantum physics, the most rigorously tested branch of science we have, just proved all of that wrong? What if I told you that reality itself doesn't exist in a fixed state until the moment you observe it? That the very act of looking changes what is there? I'm not talking about philosophy, not talking about positive thinking. I'm talking about a Nobel Prize-winning discovery that scientists still can't fully explain. A discovery that suggests something so radical about the nature of reality that even Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists who ever lived, said, "Nobody understands quantum mechanics." And here's where it gets personal. Here's where it stops being about particles and starts being about you. Because if observation creates reality at the quantum level, if the act of measuring something literally brings it into existence, then what does that mean for how you've been observing your life, your past, your trauma, your story? Let me ask you this. What if you've been collapsing your reality into its most painful version simply by how you've been looking at it? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is going to challenge everything you think you know about what's possible. I used to believe I was defined by what happened to me, that my childhood emotional neglect was a fixed fact, an immutable truth, that all I could do was cope with it, manage it, try to build a life around this permanent wound. And then I discovered the Two-Slit Experiment. At first it was just fascinating science, a weird quantum quirk. But the more I understood it, the more I realized, this isn't just about atoms, this is about consciousness, this is about the power of observation, to literally shape what exists. And that changed everything. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through this experiment step by step, not as a physics lecture, but as a revelation. Because by the end of this video, you're going to see your life, your past, your present, your future in a completely different way. You're going to understand why you felt powerless. And more importantly, you're going to discover that you never were. Ready? Let's dive into the strangest, most profound experiment in the history of science. Here's where it starts. The Two-Slit Experiment seems simple, almost too simple. You take a single atom, you send it toward two openings, two slits, and you see where it lands. That's it. That's the setup. But here's what makes it revolutionary. Depending on how you choose to observe that atom, you get two completely contradictory results. Not slightly different, not a matter of interpretation, fundamentally impossibly contradictory. And the difference between those two results? Your observation, your choice of how to look. Let me show you what I mean. First, let's talk about what happens when you open both slits and let the atom pass through. Something strange happens. The atom doesn't behave like a tiny compact particle. It behaves like something spread out, something that can interfere with itself. You get what's called an interference pattern, bands of light and dark, areas where atoms cluster and areas where they never appear. A pattern that proves, mathematically, undeniably proves, that something of that atom went through both slits at once. Not one or the other, both. Now most people hear this and think, okay, so the atom is like a wave. It spreads out. Makes sense. But here's the kicker. Here's where reality starts to break. Because when you change how you observe, when you close one slit and force the atom to go through only one opening, the interference pattern vanishes. Completely. The atom now behaves like a compact particle. A tiny localized thing. It goes through one slit and that's it. No spreading. No interference, just a simple pattern, atoms distributed evenly across the screen. So which is it? Is the atom a wave or a particle? The answer, and this is where science enters the realm of the mystical, is both, and neither, until you observe it. The atom exists in what's called a superposition, a state of infinite possibility, all potential outcomes existing simultaneously. And the moment you measure it, the moment you look, That infinite field of possibility collapses into one single definite reality. Now let me show you something even stranger. There's a version of this experiment that makes the paradox even more explicit, even more impossible to dismiss. It's called the box pairs setup, and it's going to be crucial for understanding what this means for your life. Here's how it works. Instead of slits, imagine two boxes. Each atom's wave function, its probability field, is split evenly between these two boxes. 50-50 chance in each one. But, and this is critical, there is no actual atom sitting in one specific box before you look. Not like a shell game where the ball is definitely under one cup and you just don't know which. This is different, profoundly different. Until you observe the atom is not in box 1 or box 2, it's in both. And in neither, it exists in superposition. Now you have two ways to observe this system, two different experiments you can run. And depending on which one you choose, you prove completely contradictory truths about the same atom. Let me walk you through both. The first experiment, let's call it the interference experiment, goes like this. You open a small slit in both boxes simultaneously. You don't look inside, you just let whatever is in those boxes pass through and hit a screen behind them. And here's what you find. The atoms don't land randomly. They cluster. They form a pattern. Bands of high probability separated by regions where no atoms ever appear. And here's the stunning part. That pattern depends on the distance between the two boxes. If you move the boxes farther apart, the bands get closer together. If you move them closer together, the bands spread farther apart. The atom knows the geometry. It responds to the relationship between the two boxes. The only possible explanation? Something of that atom must be in both boxes simultaneously. Otherwise, how could it know the distance between them? This is interference. This is the proof that the atom is spread out, extended, present in multiple locations at once. But now, and here's where it gets wild, let's run a different experiment. Instead of opening slits in both boxes, you just open one box at a time. You look inside. You check, is the atom here or not? And what do you find? Sometimes you find the entire atom in box 1, the whole thing, complete, localized. And when you do, you know with absolute certainty that box 2 is empty, because you found all of it in box 1. Other times, box 1 is empty. And when it is, you open box 2 and sure enough, there it is, the entire atom, compact, whole, no interference pattern, no spreading. The atom is definitively, completely in one box or the other. 50-50 probability, clean and simple. So let me ask you this, which reality is true? Is the atom spread across both boxes, creating interference patterns based on their distance? Or is it a compact particle sitting entirely in one box? The maddening, beautiful, impossible answer is both, depending on how you choose to look. In the interference experiment, the atom is spread out. In the which box experiment, it's localized. Same atom, two contradictory realities. And the difference? Your observation, your choice of measurement, your decision about what question to ask. Now, this is where most people start to feel uncomfortable, because this isn't just weird. This is a direct challenge to everything we assume about reality. We assume reality exists out there, independent of us, fixed, objective. We're just passive observers, recording what's already there. But the Two-Slit Experiment says no. Reality is not a stage we walk onto, it's not a script already written, it's a field of potentials. And we, through our observation, collapse those potentials into actualities. The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics states it explicitly. The wave function collapses upon measurement. Before measurement, there is no definite reality, only probabilities, only superposition. And here's what nobody tells you. This isn't philosophy. This isn't interpretation. This is what the math demands. This is what the experiments prove over and over and over again. Atoms, electrons, photons, even large molecules like buckyballs, spheres made of 60 carbon atoms. They all show the same behavior. Wave-particle duality, superposition, observer-dependent reality. But here's the question that haunted me. If this is true for particles, If observation literally brings reality into existence at the quantum level, then what about consciousness? What about memory? What about the stories we tell ourselves about who we are? Because here's the thing. You're not separate from the quantum field, you're made of it. Every atom in your body, every neuron firing in your brain, every thought, every memory, every belief, it's all happening within this same strange, observer-dependent reality. So when you observe your past, when you measure your trauma, when you collapse the wave function of your own history by how you choose to look at it, are you discovering what was, or are you creating what is? Pause with that for a moment. Let it sit, because this is the shift. This is the point where science stops being abstract and starts being personal. Here's what changed everything for me. I realized I'd been running the witch box experiment on my life, over and over for years. I'd been asking, which box am I in? The damaged box or the whole box? Am I broken or am I okay? Is my past a wound or is it healed? And every time I asked that question, I got a definite answer. I collapsed the wave function. I found the atom, me, localized in one state, usually the painful one, usually the box labeled still broken. But here's what I missed. By asking, which box? I was destroying the interference pattern. I was eliminating the possibility of superposition. I was forcing reality to choose, not because reality is cruel, but because reality is precise. It responds to observation, and observation is always a question, and the question you ask determines the answer you find. Let me explain this more clearly. Think about the two experiments again. In the interference experiment, you're not asking which box then on. You're allowing both possibilities to coexist. You're not collapsing the wave function prematurely. And because of that, you see something beautiful, a pattern that emerges from the interaction of multiple states, complexity, richness, possibility. In the witch box experiment, you're demanding a binary answer. You're forcing the system to choose. And it does. It gives you exactly what you asked for. One or the other, here or there, damaged or whole. But here's the profound realization. The atom was never really in one box before you looked. That's the illusion, the trap of classical thinking. The atom was in superposition, multiple states, infinite potential, and your observation, your measurement, your question collapsed it into one. Now apply this to your life. When you ask yourself, am I healed or am I broken? You're running the witch box experiment. You're demanding a binary answer. And your consciousness, your observation, will find evidence for whichever state you're looking for. You'll find the atom, localized, definite, in one box, and you'll think, this is the truth, this is what's real, I'm broken, or I'm healed, whichever one you find. But what if you're asking the wrong question? What if the truth is that you exist in superposition? That both states, the wounded self and the healed self, coexist until you collapse them into one? What if healing isn't about fixing yourself until you're finally in the whole box? What if it's about understanding that you were never broken in the first place? You were just observed that way. Let me tell you something that might sound impossible. Your past is not fixed, not in the way you think. Yes, events happened, facts exist. But the meaning of those events, the way they define you, the reality they create in your present, that's observation, that's measurement, that's the collapse of the wave function. And just like the atom in the box, your past exists in superposition until you observe it. There is a version of your history where you were damaged, and there is a version where you were strengthened, a version where you were abandoned, and a version where you learned self-reliance. Both are true, both are real, until you choose which one to measure. Now here's where science meets healing. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this in his work on neuroplasticity and quantum biology. He says, the moment you observe your past in a new way, you change the neural pathways that fire when you think about it. You literally rewire your brain. Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist, goes further. He says, your perception of your environment, including your past, controls your biology. Change the perception, and you change the biological response. This isn't New Age wishful thinking. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. This is the observer effect in action. When you stop measuring your past as the thing that broke you and start observing it as the thing that shaped you, you're not lying to yourself. You're not denying what happened. You're collapsing the wave function differently. You're choosing a different reality to bring into existence. But here's the paradox that trips people up. You can't fake observation. You can't just say the words and expect reality to change. Because observation isn't about words, it's about where your attention actually goes, where your consciousness actually focuses. It's like the Two-Slit Experiment. You can't pretend to do the interference experiment while actually doing the witch-box experiment. The setup determines the outcome. The question determines the answer. So if you say, "I'm healed," while your attention is constantly measuring the wound, while your consciousness is constantly asking, "Which box am I in?" and finding yourself in the broken one, then you're still collapsing the wave function into suffering. The words don't matter, the observation does. This is why manifestation fails for most people. They're trying to manifest from a collapsed state. They've already decided they're in the not enough box. They've already measured themselves as lacking. And then they try to manifest abundance from that localized, limited state. But you can't, because you've already collapsed the wave function. You've already destroyed the superposition. You've already eliminated the infinite field of possibility. True manifestation, quantum manifestation, happens in the space before collapse, in the interference pattern, in the superposition. It happens when you stop asking, "Which box am I in?" and start allowing all possibilities to exist simultaneously. It happens when you become comfortable with the uncertainty, the both and, the not yet collapsed. That's where the magic lives. In the field, before measurement, before observation locks reality into place. And the most radical part, you have access to that field right now, in this moment. You always have. So here's the practical question. How do you stop collapsing your reality into its most painful version? How do you maintain superposition? How do you stay in the field of infinite possibility instead of constantly measuring yourself into limitation? Let me give you the framework. 3 shifts, 3 ways to work with quantum reality instead of against it. Shift 1. Change your questions. Remember, the question determines the answer. The measurement determines the outcome. If you're constantly asking, "Why am I still broken? Why can't I heal? What's wrong with me?" you're running the witch box experiment. You're demanding to find yourself localized in one state, and your consciousness will oblige. It will find evidence. It will collapse the wave function into exactly what you're looking for. Here's the shift. Stop asking witch box questions. Start asking interference pattern questions instead of "Am I healed or broken?" Ask, "How am I both wounded and whole?" instead of "Why does this always happen to me?" Ask, "What am I learning to see differently?" instead of "Will I ever be enough?" Ask, "Where am I already more than enough?" These questions don't demand binary answers. They allow complexity. They preserve superposition. They let multiple truths coexist. And when you do that, when you stop collapsing prematurely, you start to see the interference pattern, the richness, the possibility that was always there, hidden beneath your need for certainty. Shift 2. Stop over-observing. Here's something that blew my mind when I first understood it. In quantum mechanics, there's something called the quantum Zeno effect. It's when you observe a system so frequently that you actually prevent it from evolving. You freeze it in place, lock it into one state by measuring it constantly. Sound familiar? How many times a day do you check your wound? How many times do you measure yourself against some standard and find yourself lacking? How many times do you open the box to see if you're healed yet? Every observation collapses the wave function. Every measurement locks reality into place. And if you're constantly measuring the same thing in the same way, you're preventing transformation. You're creating a quantum Zeno effect in your own life. Here's the radical practice. Stop looking. Stop measuring. Stop checking to see if you're there yet. Let the wave function evolve undisturbed. Let superposition exist. Trust that transformation can happen in the spaces between observation. This is what meditation actually is. It's not forcing yourself to be present. It's pausing the constant measurement, giving the quantum field room to breathe, room to reorganize without your observation collapsing it prematurely into the same old patterns. Shift 3. Become the observer, not the observed. This is the most profound shift, the identity level shift. You are not the atom in the box. You are not the particle being measured. You are the consciousness doing the measuring. You are the observer. Let that land, because most of us have it backwards. We think we're the object of reality, the thing that circumstances happen to, the thing that gets damaged or healed, broken or fixed. But quantum mechanics says no. The observer is not passive. The observer is not secondary. The observer is fundamental, primary, creative. You are not the experiment. You are the scientist running the experiment. And once you understand that, once you really embody it, everything changes. Because scientists don't identify with their experiments. They don't say, I am this atom. They observe, they measure, they choose which questions to ask. And then they observe the results without attachment. That's the quantum stance. That's the place of power. Now let me address the 4 types of people watching this. If you're an overthinker, someone who analyzes everything constantly, you're running the quantum Zeno effect. Your constant observation is freezing reality in place. The practice for you, meditation. Stop measuring. Let the wave function breathe. If you're someone still trapped in past trauma, someone who keeps re-observing the wound, you're collapsing the wave function into the same painful state over and over. The practice for you. Stop asking, which box am I in? Start allowing multiple truths, both wounded and resilient, both hurt and growing. If you're someone who lacks confidence, someone who constantly measures themselves and finds inadequacy, you're asking the wrong question. You're looking for, am I good enough? And finding no every time. The practice for you. Change the question. Ask, how am I already enough? And watch the interference pattern emerge. If you're a skeptic, someone who thinks this is all woo-woo nonsense, let me remind you, Richard Feynman won the Nobel Prize in Physics. He spent his life studying quantum mechanics. And his conclusion? Nobody understands quantum mechanics. Not because it's false, but because it's true in a way that breaks our everyday logic. You don't have to understand it to work with it. You just have to stop pretending you know how reality works. Because you don't. Nobody does. And that not knowing, that's the doorway. Here's what I want you to understand. You've been collapsing your reality into limitation not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because you didn't know you had a choice. You didn't know that observation creates reality. You didn't know that the question determines the answer. You didn't know that you are the observer, not the observed. But now you do. And that changes everything. There's one more layer to this, one more piece that ties everything together, and it's the piece that most people miss, the piece that, when you get it, unlocks a completely different way of being. It's about what happens when you stop observing altogether. Remember superposition? That state where all possibilities exist simultaneously? Where the atom is neither here nor there, but somehow everywhere? Where reality hasn't collapsed yet into any single form? That's not just a quantum state. That's the ground state of existence. That's the field. That's what's always there, underneath all your observations, all your measurements, all your collapsed wave functions. And here's the secret. You can return to it anytime. By simply stopping your observation. Not forever, not permanently, but in moments, in breaths. In the spaces between thoughts. When you meditate and your mind goes quiet, truly quiet, not just calmer, you're returning to superposition. You're uncollapsing. You're allowing all your fixed identities, all your definite stories, all your measured realities to dissolve back into the field of pure potential. And in that space, healing isn't something you do. It's something that happens naturally. Because you're no longer holding reality in a collapsed state. You're letting it reorganize, reconfigure, find new patterns. This is why ancient wisdom and quantum physics point to the same truth. Different languages, same destination. The mystics called it emptiness, or the void, or pure consciousness. Quantum physicists call it the quantum field, or superposition, or infinite possibility. Same thing, same experience. The place before observation, the place before collapse, the place where everything and nothing coexist. And here's what this means practically. You don't need to heal every wound. You don't need to fix every broken part. You don't need to collapse into the healed box and stay there permanently. You just need to spend more time in superposition, more time in the field, more time not measuring, not observing, not collapsing. Because when you do that, when you return to the quantum ground state regularly, reality reorganizes itself spontaneously. New interference patterns emerge, new possibilities become visible, new timelines open up, not because you forced them, not because you manifested them through sheer willpower, but because you stopped preventing them. You stopped collapsing the wave function into the same old patterns. You gave reality permission to be surprising, to be multiple, to be more than your observation could contain. So here's what I want to leave you with. The Two-Slit Experiment isn't just about particles. It's about you, about consciousness, about the profound, undeniable truth that observation creates reality. You are not powerless. You were never powerless. You just didn't know you were the observer. You thought you were the observed, but now you know. And knowing changes the game entirely. You don't need to change your past. You need to change how you observe it. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop collapsing into someone old. Your reality, right now in this moment, is a field of infinite possibility. And the only thing making it feel fixed, limited, deterministic is your observation. Stop observing just for a moment, just for a breath, and feel the superposition. Feel the both and. Feel the not yet collapsed. That's where you're most real, most alive, most free. That's the quantum truth, not out there in some lab, right here, in you, in this moment, always. And the most beautiful part, you can access it anytime, simply by remembering, you are not the atom, you are the scientist, you are the observer, you are the consciousness that chooses what to measure, and what you measure becomes your reality. So let me ask you one final question. What are you going to observe today? What question are you going to ask? What reality are you going to collapse into being? Because you're doing it anyway. Whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, every moment you're observing, every thought you're measuring, every belief you're collapsing the wave function. The only difference now is, you know. You know you're doing it. You know you have a choice. And that awareness, that consciousness of your own observation, that's the shift. That's the transformation. That's the beginning of quantum manifestation. Now, this is episode 13 in the Observer Effect series, and if you thought what we covered today was mind-bending, wait until you see what's coming next. Because here's something I haven't told you yet. Here's the part that's going to completely shatter your understanding of time itself. In the next video, I'm going to show you an experiment that proves something impossible. Something that suggests your choices right now, in this present moment, might actually be creating your past. Not metaphorically, physically. I'm talking about Wheeler's delayed choice experiment. And when you see what it reveals about the relationship between consciousness, time, and reality, everything changes. Again, if you're feeling something right now, if this resonated with you on some level you can't quite articulate, then you're ready to go deeper. Hit that subscribe button, join this community, because we're not just learning physics here. We're learning how to be conscious creators of our own reality. Check the description below for the full Observer Effect playlist and the link to episode 14. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Drop one word in the comments that captures what you're feeling right now. Just one word. Let's see what emerges. And remember, reality is not what you find. Reality is what you create by looking. So look wisely, look consciously, and look with the awareness that you, yes, you are the observer that brings worlds into being. See you in the next one.